Doubles and coffee. Well, boy, you cannot make up the hypocrisy of the PNM, you know. The dishonesty of the PNM. The pathology of the PNM. Imagine today, Guardian PNM newspaper is printing that Stuart Small-Pin-Young is worried about the impacts of a potential nutrient shutdown. Mind you, this is a dispute about some port fees up to 28 million that obviously would have accrued while PNM was in power, while Small-Pin was there, and that would be sorted out by the NGC and so on. That's not the issue. But Stuart Small-Pin-Young, the former Minister of Energy, the former Rowley's Gary Sobers of everything, who collapsed anything and every ministry he went in, whether the Office of the Attorney General, the Ministry of Communications, CNMG making a loss, Ministry of National Security, bronze medal and silver medal, world record, murder rates, lifeguards, fire trucks non-existent, lifeguards in terrible condition across the board, and then in energy. Stuart Small-Pin-Young is the worst Minister of Energy in our independence history. And if you include since 1908, with various other people being in charge of the sector at different times in colonial times, Stuart Small-Pin-Young is the worst of them all, the biggest failure. But Guardian Media is printing that Stuart Small-Pin-Young is saying that the potential shutdown, slowdown, or close down of Nutrien at Point Lisas will affect 600 jobs and will decimate the energy sector and impact the government's revenue figures going forward. And it's detrimental, it's terrible, it's disastrous. Never mind NGC and Nutrien negotiating and they're moving on, right? That's apasa. These are the words of Stuart Small-Pin-Young. Let me just remind the sane ones of you out there, the citizens who don't have to check themselves into St. Anne's Hospital, that this Stuart Small-Pin-Young was the one who went to Houston with Keith Christopher Rowley in 2017, left the substantive Minister of Energy here in Trinidad and Tobago, Franklin Khan, and went to Houston and negotiated with the upstreamers. Who are the upstreamers? Those companies that invest large amounts of capital to go and search, the intelligent companies who go and do the geological surveys and impacts and make the best risk assessment of where to invest in finding gas and oil and so on. Stuart Small-Pin-Young and Rowley went to Houston after the intelligent employees, the public servants at NGC, were in a ding-dong heavyweight battle with these upstreamers in order to fight for every piece of a cent US per MMBTU to provide the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago with their just deserts, with their revenue that was so sorely needed. Rowley and Small-Pin went either through stupidity or because of some other nefarious motivation and concluded negotiations which landed 69% in favor of the upstreamers and negative 69% in our side, because it's a zero-sum game. And then the calamity struck. NGC made a loss for the first time in history. And plants began to shutter and close down because they just couldn't make economic sense of the dotish price negotiated and completed by Rowley and Small-Pin. So dumb was it that Rowley came back and Small-Pin and lied to you and said, nah, we didn't finish any negotiation, it wasn't me, it wasn't we. But the on record and video boasting to Hema Ramkissoon, boasting in a conversations with the idiot Rowley, that they went to Houston and that he gave great praise to Small-Pin. So it was Small-Pin. So now Small-Pin knows that when plants shut down, that there are economic disastrous effects on the economy for the country. Well, let me remind you people of some of the plants that shut down under Stuart Smallpin's watch, the worst Minister of Energy, bar none, in history of Trinidad and Tobago. 2016, under his Gary Sobers, with Franklin Can and Rowley, and while they were pulling Malcolm Jones out of court, they were thinking about it and going to activate it. Smallpin's actual client, when Anand Ram Logan was trying to recoup money from failed plans, failed investments that later on failed again with Nico and under the PNM. I'll come back to that. 2016, Mittal Steel, 600 jobs lost. The advance in revenue, the foreign exchange, the creation, the diversification, the impacts on the local domestic supply of steel, shut down under PNM 2016. 2017, methanol, Trinidad and Tobago Methanol Company, one methanol plant, 450 workers shut down. 2018, after the negotiation that Smallpin and Rowley did in Houston, and I write notes for this one. I ain't making no mistake on this one. I researched this one for all you. The Douglas not playing this morning. 2018, Petrotrin refinery shut down by Keith Rowley and Stuart Smallpin Young on the advice of no one. Rowley lied and said his PNM Petrotrin board under Winfred Espinay advised the cabinet that Petrotrin had to be shut down. No such thing occurred. Winfred Espinay went in labor court under oath, put his hand on the Bible and said he and his board never ever recommended to keep Christopher Rowley nor the cabinet to shut down Petrotrin. There was the Lashley report, the McKinsey report, the Solomon report, experts that said it was the debt burden of Malcolm Jones, the debt burden of the PNM. Malcolm Jones is executive chairman, like CEO, that was strangling Petrotrin. And this debt had to be dealt with, and they were giving suggestions of how it could be dealt with and so on. Not one of those reports said shut it down. Rowley said, we are not closing down Petrotrin. And if you were opening your fridge, close your fridge door, let me repeat. And then he shut it down. And it just so happened that the country knew a bareback cussbird was telling him, who's his friend, shut it down, lock it down, broke it down, or we all go down. So that was 5,364 workers, Smallpin. You didn't care about that. That was monthly paid, solid, taxable dollars. The taxes come out before them get a salary. Plus 6,250 daily paid. Plus fence line communities in the Southwest Peninsula. You turn the entire Southwest Peninsula into ghost town. Assets rotting, houses, estates, everything shut down under you, Smallpin. You should hide your face and shut up. You talking about potential impacts of a shutdown of one company at Point Lisa? Then in 2018, the Caribbean Nitrogen Company Limited, CNC, 400 workers shut down because of Smallpin's negotiation, the PNM's mismanagement of the energy sector. 2019, Yara ammonia plant shut down because of Smallpin's stupidity, Rowley's dotishness, poor negotiation, high gas price under PNM. Another 400 workers. July 2020, Tringen 1 ammonia plant shut down under Stuart Smallpin Young and Rowley. What is this blithering imbecile, this idiot, this Imran Khan bully talking about? And Guardian media printing it without printing his badge of honor stapled to his chest, his incompetence, his stupidity, his threat to our country. Stuart Young is a greater threat to Trinidad and Tobago than anything in history. He took away our revenue, our ability to service our people, and Rowley was simultaneously saying to you, the citizens, wean yourself off the government, while Stuart Smallpin Young was recusing himself from the cabinet 100 times, where his family and friends and financiers and business partners were benefiting, while he was shrinking the pie. He was taking a bigger piece of the smaller pie with his father and his friends and his recusals, him and that next tight pants one who taking picture with man in the mirror, them could talk. No, the Douglas will remind all you. Doubles and Coffee is here. Don't get tied up with PNM fake news media. I ain't done that yet, you know. July 2020, I told you all Tringen one ammonia plant. 2020, Titan methanol plant shut down. 2020, Atlantic LNG train 1 shut down. On top of that, the PNM under Stuart, Small, Young and Rowley, the board members, 2 had to resign because they were asking for indemnity because somebody powerful was giving them instruction to invest in maintenance. They say maintenance, $233 million for 18 months of maintenance. And Stuart, Small, Young said, no big thing. En passant, that is energy sector. We could make back that $233 million flushed down the toilet by Stuart, Small, Young. Then they went and get some compressor. The same NGC board and Rowley and Stuart Young, Mark Loquan, the fantastic friend, and they big him up with order of the merit of Trinidad and Tobago. Another $250 million on some compressor that they did not need. They lost money before other companies were willing to invest in it. They didn't. Them went and do their own thing and then realized they buy the wrong compressor. $500 million wasted, flushed down the toilet, but Stuart, Small, Young. And he had the audacity to open his mouth. Methanol Holdings, M3, April 2020, shut down. Furthermore, all Point Lisa's plants still operating at 78% because they cannot get gas, because Stuart, Small, Young and the PNM since September 2015 did nothing except what he came in the Senate to boast about. Back and forth with Maduro, Dragon, not deep water, not land, not Trinidad and Tobago waters, not Tobago fields, nothing. All the eggs were in one basket and that basket bust on them because Stuart, Small, Young cannot walk and chew gum. He is a blithering, incompetent idiot, a pathological liar and a buffoon, and he should shut up. And Guardian Media, you will lose about the next 1,000 newspapers per day. Right here, right now, because you're all sick. 3 trains at Atlantic that are still operational are operating only at 65%. These are the shortfalls that Kamala Prasad Bissessa, Rudal Munilal, and the UNC government will find gas, will invest, will incentivize those upstreamers and those investors to find the gas for us, negotiate international deals and trade deals with Guyana, Suriname, work even with Grenada, because there is gas there, needs investment. But Trinidad and Tobago is in good hands with bright people. You have Munila, you have Kevin Ramnarine, all of these people who are qualified dealing with the situation. But the PNM put all the eggs in one basket. And when the basket busts, they come to talk now. Stuart, Small, Young. What about Nikwan? You all gave them ministerial gas. You put Alison due diligence, former permanent secretary who was there with Dan Paul. So imagine the country running with 2 permanent secretaries who's PNM, permanent secretaries that's supposed to protect the people, make the ministers and the government accountable, make sure that we stick to protocol and finance rules. The PNM have PNM permanent secretaries and make one a Kobo Sweat minister, Dan Paul, a man who signed off on Rhoda Barrett 3.3 million. This clown called Dan Paul, who didn't know his substantive position was to be apolitical. Alison due diligence, Lewis, another PS in finance, PNM, Nikwan board, PNM, Republic Bank board, PNM, Port Authority board, all lost money. Whether in Ferrygate, Bridgemans, come down the line to Nikwan bus, over $1 billion US loss. Republic Bank, 120 million US loan had to be written off as a bad debt. How they got the loan? All of that is PNM. All of that is Stuart, Small, Young. And he opening him out. Boy, hush your mouth, boy, Stuart, Small, Young. You dirty Zammie-Man. To the rest of the country, bless.